It's Alien in a museum. So this should be promising, right? Well, mostly. So today we'll be taking a look at the 1997 science fiction horror film, The Relic, directed by Peter Hyams. Plus, with a creature design and effects being done by Stan Winston, at least we get a sick-looking monster. The movie is loosely based on a novel from 1995, written by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, both of whom have written some pretty solid science fiction novels. So, if you happen to be a bookworm, you may want to check them out. Getting back to the movie, however, the film stars Tom Sizemore as a Chicago police officer who is investigating a string of gruesome murders, which start on a seemingly abandoned cargo ship that has sailed in from South America, after picking up some mysterious crates. The murders eventually make their way over to the Museum of Natural History. The murder victims all share a common variable in that they have all been completely decapitated, and also have had their brains sucked out, more specifically the hypothalamus. I will say that the film utilizes the museum setting quite effectively, and does a pretty good job of making you feel trapped and very claustrophobic in this setting. Plus, if you happen to be a big fan of museums like myself, you'll definitely appreciate some of the location shooting. The opening of this film is insane, to say the least. We open up in South America, where we witness John Whitney, a scientist who has been sent into the Amazon in search of a secretive tribe. Eventually, he makes contact and is welcomed into the tribe, and allowed to document them under one condition. He has to drink this nasty-ass soup, which has been made using a very specific type of leaf. In other words, my man is about to be tripping balls in a minute here. One of the natives dresses up as the Cathoga, a mystical creature that the tribe apparently worships. Really though, this is just so they can fuck with him. Anyway, apparently the leaves are infected with some kind of weird virus. Whitney packs them into some crates in the hopes of bringing them back to the Chicago Museum in order to further study them. He decides to sneak onto the ship and hides in one of the crates. Fast forward several weeks later, where the ship is discovered, seemingly abandoned, until the mutilated remains of the crew are discovered. Meanwhile, the museum is getting ready to open up their newest exhibit, which centers around superstition and mythical relics. We also meet Margot, played by Penelope-Ann Miller, our other protagonist who works at the museum. One night, a security guard is snatched and brutally murdered while having a little pot on the potty. Later, his remains are discovered with his head torn off and the brain completely removed, just like the crew on the ship that were discovered at the film's opening. So the lieutenant, along with Margot and a senior scientist, Dr. Frock, all theorize that whatever this animal is that's been killing people seems to be purposely ripping out and eating the hypothalamus region of the brain. Later on, after several of the leaves from the film's opening are discovered, Margot deduces that the leaves contain an essential protein that the creature needs in order to survive. After its natural food source is completely depleted, the only means of finding this same protein is by eating the hypothalamus of the human brain. The night of the exhibit's opening, the creature finally makes its grand entrance. After it attacks several of the police officers who have been hunting it throughout the sewers below the museum, it then eats one of their dogs as well. But thankfully it spares the second one. After the power gets knocked out and another body is discovered, everybody freaks out like it's Black Friday. Soon after, the creature takes out the museum director,
My hands on him.
as well as several members of the SWAT team that are sent in to kill it. It's a pretty cool little scene, featuring some pretty gnarly kills and gore. It's also here that we at last get a good look at the creature, which is a pretty awesome design, I have to say. The Cathoga monster was brought to life using a combination of practical effects and CGI. The CGI is a tad dated, although the filmmakers were at least smart enough not to show it too much. Plus, the dark lighting does help to obscure. though it does feature some really solid practical effects as well, via some really great animatronics and puppetry, courtesy of Stan Winston Studios. Also, the creature sounds like me when I had pneumonia anytime it breathes. Sadly, Dr. Frock encounters the beast and is killed, although I'm not really sure why this old crippled guy was just wandering around this dark museum by himself. There actually was a sequel to the novel that this film was based on, titled Relic, and it would also once again feature this same character. So it does baffle me that they just decided to kill this character off in this movie if they were planning to do a sequel. Eventually, it is revealed that the monster is actually John Whitney, or was him anyway. Apparently sea-bound with nothing to eat but the infected leaves, Whitney eventually just said fuck it and decided to start chowing down, I guess. Margot starts grabbing all these bottles of formaldehyde and breaking them on the floor when the creature comes busting through one of the skylights and pursues Margot throughout the sub-basement area of the museum. The creature then proceeds to slowly and seductively lick her. She uses a homemade bomb and tosses it onto the floor behind the creature, which then lights both it and the entire room on fire. As you can already imagine, the Cthulhu does not appreciate this one bit and chases Margot through the lab, while on fire mind you. Margot hides in whatever in the hell this tank of fluid is supposed to be, and the monster is then blown up into 1,000 itty bitty little pieces.
You gotta help!
And that's pretty much the end of the film. The survivors manage to get out of the building okay, and are then sentenced to a lifetime of therapy. Relic is sort of a mixed bag for me. I hate to be that guy, but I really do sort of wish the film would have stayed a bit truer to the source material. While I understand that literally no film adaptation of a major novel can include every little event and subplot, however, this one felt slightly half-assed, but even then, it still makes for a pretty decent little creature feature, featuring a unique setting with a really interesting premise, and a badass looking monster. The action is cool, the kills are nice and gory, and the monster is cool. Unfortunately, this film has some pretty bad lighting. It's not quite Alien vs. Predator Requiem level, but it's getting close. Acting is a bit of a mixed bag. I actually don't think it's too terrible for this type of movie. Just some of the dialogue and lines these actors were given is, well, not exactly the best. I mean, I'm not sure that even the best of actors could make do with a line like this.
We got a homeless ex-con who gets his jollies from ripping out people's hypothalamuses. What's he doing, starting a hypothalamus collection?
Anyway, if you view this movie as just a fun popcorn flick like I do, I'd say it's quite enjoyable. It's not without its flaws, of course, as there are quite a few, but they don't take away from the overall enjoyment of the movie. Anyhow, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, ciao for now, guys.